I'd like to dedicate today's practice to playing chords and double octaves. We will play many different variations, including scales, arpeggios, the seventh chord, and the dominant chord. But all of that will be either in chords or double octaves. So after this video, you will be a pro at playing chords or double octaves. Welcome back to PianoBuffs 24 Days Scales Challenge. Yesterday, we practiced A flat major with 4 flats. And today we will practice F minor also with 4 flats, which will be A flat, B flat, D flat, E flat. And this is how the natural F minor scale looks like. As you know, in minor scales, we normally play either harmonic or melodic. This is how these scales look like. So in the harmonic scale, we always alter a 7th degree of the scale, which in this case will be E natural. This is how we get this interesting interval here. In the melodic scale, we alter 2 notes, which are D natural, E. And on the way back, we play a natural scale. So the melodic scale looks like this. D natural, E natural, and then again, E flat, D flat. In order to be able to play the scale in double octaves, we of course need to be very, very comfortable with the scale, playing it in simple 4 octaves in parallel motion. Let's just try playing the harmonic and melodic scales so we get familiar with how it feels and how it looks like. This is the harmonic scale. And this is the melodic scale. To really master your double octaves, first we have to talk about technique. When you play double octaves, it's very important that your hands are very relaxed. You don't want to only use your fingers. An example. So as you see, my hands are very locked and they don't really bounce from the keyboard. I think that a good starting point is that you focus on this jump. So you can imagine that the keys are very, very hot. You touch the key and then you jump immediately. So after you try this couple of times, the next thing you can try is grabbing the key. Make 2 fists after you play the octave. So these small exercises will help you to relax your arm, because very often what happens in playing octaves, you just stick to one position and then you get tired very quickly. But when you play the octaves, the most important thing is to stay relaxed. Another thing you have to think about is the flexibility of your wrist. First, I go slightly up and then I go slightly down. Of course, I'm exaggerating a little bit. Imagine that this is like a very, very relaxed place in your arm. So it's not something like this. Because this immediately causes tension and you can't be relaxed. These are little tips you could think about when you play your octaves. And now let's try to play the scale, the harmonic F minor, using these tips. You will also notice that normally when I have a black key, for example here and here, in both hands, in the left hand and in the right hand, I will use 4th finger. Obviously you could always do it with 5, but I find 4th finger more comfortable. So now we've been training how to jump from the key. Another thing you could do is simply hold your octaves for a longer time. So you press and you relax. You press and you relax. You press and you relax. So when you will play your octaves, you most likely notice that there is a slight unevenness between your fingers. It's very important that you don't ignore your thumbs. You want to have 4 notes sounding almost equally. What I noticed with my students that very often they lose one of the voices. So for example, you could always try this exercise choosing one finger. So in this case, I will choose my 5th finger in the left hand and try to play all the notes, but increase the volume of your lowest finger, 5th finger, for example. This will sound like this. You can do the same by increasing the volume of your thumb. And let's try to add the contrary motion to our octaves. This exercise is also very useful for your brain. We will play a tonic arpeggio with inversions. This will look like this. Again, remember 4th finger on black keys. So before, when we played a simple scale in steps, we were training this motion of relaxed wrists and moving from note to note. And now our goal is actually to learn to change positions and really remember the spaces between our octaves. Here, for example, we have a minor 3rd, major 3rd, and then the 4th. So this is what we're training here. And if you ever tried playing Liszt, this will be particularly useful because he uses a lot of this double octaves technique. If you're struggling to find these jumps, you can always practice just small jumps. First inversion. We can add the contrary and then do mistakes. So this is particularly useful because you see that you have 2 different intervals. In the left hand, you have to jump a major 3rd, and then in the right hand, you jump a minor 3rd. And this is where the confusion starts. Then this is fine because it's 4th. And again, different spaces. And the last inversion of F minor, the one from the C. Wow, this was a real performance. So you can always check where you stand with your technique once you play it fast. So of course, I can play this slowly, but when I increase the speed, I immediately lose accuracy. This means that I need to practice by increasing the speed bit by bit. Left hand might also feel weaker in the octave. Another way of how you can practice octaves is always playing only with your thumb, for example. Whew. As always, practicing piano is not an easy task. To finish our double octaves practice, I'd like to play a diminished chord from the 7th degree of the scale using double octaves. So in this case, we have F minor, and our 7th degree will be E natural. E natural because we play a 7th degree in a harmonic mode. And this is our diminished chord. And to practice this, you can always use rhythmical variations. So as an example, I will stop on every second note. So now I will stop on every third note. On every fourth. Okay, so going to the G is not that good. And I will use this thumb exercise, which I just introduced. And in the end, you should be comfortable playing this. In 3 octaves at least. Okay, and lastly, I'd like to talk about your technique for playing chords. Okay, so when you play chords, the rules are pretty much the same like in double octaves. You don't want to lock your hands. Many people will probably play just like that, spreading their fingers and trying to reach for the notes. But if you want to produce this beautiful, big, rich sound, you will never get such an effect by simply tensing your fingers and playing notes. What you want to do, if you want to project the sound, you really need to include your elbow, your shoulder, and basically the whole back. And this is true to most of the piano playing. If you want to have this beautiful, rich sound, which can produce a lot of different colors, you always want to engage the whole arm, the whole hand. So your wrist and everything is very, very well connected and flexible. And this is how it will look like from the side. If you can't feel it in the beginning, you can always stop on the chord and just try to swing your elbows. Can you swing it? Or is it locked? If the big chords are too big for your hand, you can always choose playing the smaller version. Both are fine. And you can choose what fingering is more comfortable. Here, either 5 or 4. Okay guys, this was our double octaves and chords. I hope you learned a lot about how to be flexible and relaxed at the keyboard. If you're enjoying these videos, please leave us a comment about which exercises you found useful. If you liked our channel, please consider subscribing. And if you're curious to find out more about piano playing and everything related to being a professional pianist, please check our Patreon. Thank you so much for joining me today and happy practicing.